Princess Charm School is one of the best Barbie movies. At least, that's what little me thought. Hi, I'm Yamuna, and today I'm gonna go off on a little side tangent about this movie right here, Barbie Princess Charm School. For some reason, as a kid, I've had this deep emotional connection with this movie, and how could I not? The literal tagline was, "There's a princess in every girl." Little 7-year-old me was obsessed. And for some context, I am a late 2000s baby, and arguably, I feel like my generation's one of the last ones who saw the true Barbie movies and not whatever these monstrosities are. And even with the myriad of movies that came out at this time, this one had always been my favorite, and today I'm going to be revisiting what made it so special. Quick disclaimer before we get started, this video is completely just my personal opinion and interpretations. Everyone is entitled to their own thoughts, and you may completely disagree with everything I say, and that's totally okay. And also, I do not own any of the clips, footage, or music I use in this video. All of those belong to their respective owners, and this is for entertainment and commentary purposes only. So without further ado, let's get started. To start off, we meet our main character, Blair Willows, who is your average everyday citizen who is working as a waitress to support her ill-adopted mother and Emily, her younger sister. In fact, we meet Blair through a montage of her working to the backtrack. She's a princess, she doesn't need a crown. And that kind of just like sets the whole vibe of the movie moving forward. And one normal day, Blair leaves the cafe midday and heads back home. And there we have a really cute interaction between her and Emily before she finds out that she has won a lottery to become a lady royal. And all of this is happening via live broadcast, by the way. And Blair is shocked because my girl never entered a lottery or anything like that. But then Emily tells her that she's the one who secretly submitted Blair's name multiple times to make sure that she'd win the lottery. And if you're wondering what a lady royal is, from what I gather, it's a sort of assistant slash advisor to the princess. And this is a pretty like prestigious position here in Gardenia. I don't think I mentioned this yet, but Gardenia is the kingdom we're in right now. Then shortly after, there is a royal escort sent to take Blair back to the academy, but Blair refuses because if she leaves, who's going to take care of her family? Who's going to support them? Who's going to take care of them? But then about 5 seconds later, she's like, okay, I'm going to go. And she goes to the academy with just the clothes off of her back. And mind you, she's wearing her waitress uniform right now. This has always irked me as a kid. Like, girl, I understand that you have to go right now, but at least take off of like your apron. That's the least you could do. It's gonna take 2 seconds. And she doesn't. I know the guy was rushing her, but still I feel like she could have taken it off. And after a bit of a clumsy carriage ride, we get to Princess Charm School, which is basically just a castle for students. And then she takes a walk around, giving us exposition into the new rich world. And then we bump into Prince and Headmistress Privet. I feel like every Barbie movie has like this older mentor figure, and for this one I definitely feel like it's Headmistress Privet. And she is so calm and patient, and she genuinely wants Blair to succeed despite all the stigma surrounding her position. And I don't know if it's just me, but she gives corporate baddie. And despite all of this, I do feel like plot-wise she was very underused. I thought she was going to be the girl's role model, and I thought she was going to help clue in on Blair's identity, or at least help Blair reclaim her identity. But at the end, she just ended up being a bystander, which was kind of disappointing, but it's whatever. Then Headmistress Privet gives Blair a tour of the facilities of the school, and then we meet Grace, who is to be Blair's personal fairy assistant. And man, what I wouldn't do for one of these. They are so cool. But despite all of this, I do find it kind of odd that there are fairies in this universe because they're pretty much the only magical creature we see. Like, we know there's magic in this world, like with the crown of Gardenia, but they're the only physical manifestation of it, if that makes sense. And it seems like none of the commoners have access to this magic either, so maybe it's just an elite thing. Moving on, Grace shows Blair her locker, and after a little bit of an incident, we meet my favorite character of the movie, Delancy. And Blair and Delancy get off to a little bit of a rocky start, with Delancy calling Blair a commoner who doesn't belong there. And if you didn't know, Delancy is the future ruler of Gardenia, and she's the niece of the late royal family, and her mom, Dame Devon, wants to seize control of the entire kingdom. And there's one more character I wanted to point out. She isn't really relevant to the plot, but she's one of my favorites. And that is our nonchalant queen, Portia. So Portia is Delancey's friend slash lackey, and she's such a lovable airhead, and she's comedic relief in a lot of scenes, and she has so many of them, so I thought I might point her out. But moving on, Blair has her magical transformation that comes with a uniform and a makeover, and strikes a pose as it takes effect. I would die if I saw any of this happen in real life. It is so dorky, but what's life without a little bit of magic, I guess? And then we meet her roommates, Princess Hadley and Princess Isla, and the former is a sportswoman and the latter is a music buff, and both of them are pretty welcoming of Blair into her new life. Something I wanted to point out is the fact that Isla was never featured in any of the toys or dolls made for this movie. It was always only Blair, Delancey, and even Hadley, but Isla was always left out, and that made me really sad as a kid because out of everyone in this movie, she was the one who I identified most closely with in terms of appearance. And I know it's because a lot of people say they make the dolls before the movies get finalized and Isla just didn't exist initially. I understand that, and I even understand the fact that the other three may have made a better visual trio, but I will always mourn the fact that Isla never got her own doll, especially since she's so pretty. Then we have a student meeting where we can see how pushy Dame Devon is and how her queen, Headmistress Privet, cannot stand her. And here we find out that there are rumors that Queen Isabella and the rest of the unnamed royal family didn't all die in the accident. I always thought it was kind of weird that Dame Devon would just randomly mention her sister-in-law by name. But then later we have a scene explaining how Dame Devon herself was a lottery winner who was unpicked as a Lady Royal. And I completely didn't notice this when I was a kid. And I'm kind of confused by this even now because I always thought that she was the king's sister. But on my rewatch, it seems that no one specifically says that she's the king's sister, only that she's Queen Isabella's sister-in-law. So maybe she married a brother or a cousin, but I'm not sure how that would put her daughter in line for succession unless she killed off her husbands as well, maybe. But yay for gender equality and inheriting the crown of Gardenia. Then, for a pretty hefty chunk of the next part of the movie, Blair is seen to be struggling to keep up with the rest of the royals in the academy. And then we also have this Portia line.
Is it nap time? How come nobody told me?
And it was even worse because of how Dame Devon despised her and intentionally prevented her from succeeding. And then Headmistress Privet, taking pity on Blair and sympathizing with her, she trains her in private, and we get a montage of that as well. And that brings us to one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie, the ballroom dance. Here, the princess and other gentlemen from Prince Charming Academy come over to Princess Charm School to have a ballroom training session with the girls. And here, Delancey wants to dance with Prince Nicholas, who happened to not be there. And Dame Devon, not wanting her daughter to sit out on a lesson, takes out Blair and gives Delancey Blair's partner. And as Blair's heading out, she bumps into, you guessed it, Prince Nicholas. So out of all the meet cutes out there, this one probably isn't the best, but I loved it as a kid. In his 2 minutes of screen time, Nicholas is so charming and cool, and I love that he didn't judge Blair when they messed up. And looking at him now, I feel like he's like a male version of Blair with the same blonde hair and blue eyes, which is kind of throwing me off a little right now, but they are still pretty cute. Them just spontaneously doing the same steps in the middle of the dance court was just so adorable. Don't ask why. It's just so Barbie-like, especially with all the other people joining in, and especially the dude with the glasses. He was awesome. Looking back on it, another reason why I was really immersed in this Barbie world was even though there were princesses and castles, it was still very modern in terms of technology, and you can even see it with the architecture of the academy. Half of it is high-tech and modern, and the other half is like an ancient palace. And even the magic here with the fairies, it was also subtly woven in, and it only complemented the plot without adding anything overwhelming. And I think this really played a huge role in my imagination as a kid because it just fit in so seamlessly into my normal life. But anyway, moving on, we have another one of my favorite scenes. While Blair and her friends are getting ready for supper at the royal palace, Dame Devon and her fairy assistant destroy the girls' uniform and piece them to shreds. And this is a problem because in this school, you need to attend every single class in uniform, and if you don't attend a class, you fail. And you would think that in this rich academy, all the girls would have more than one pair of the uniform, but apparently not, because Blair goes on a mission to fix them. So she takes the shreds of their old uniform and makes new ones out of them. And somehow Hadley ends up with a color that wasn't even in their original uniform. And despite Dame Devon's protest, the headmistress Privet takes the girls aside and lets them into the palace. When looking around the palace, the girls stumble upon a portrait of the late royal family, and guess what? Blair is a spitting image of Queen Isabella. And Hadley and Isla lock in immediately, connecting the dots of Blair's adoption and the alleged death of Princess Sophia. And that would explain why the mother-daughter duo treat her so terribly. But Blair refuses and calls them crazy, and then they head over to dinner. But unbeknownst to them, Delancey had been eavesdropping, and she listened to everything that was just said. The whole problem with this part of the movie is that Blair is identical to her mom. How did no one else see the resemblance except for Dame Devon? Did all the citizens forget how their queen looked like? And for that matter, did Blair's adoptive mom not realize? If a baby shows up on her doorstep the same day the royal baby goes missing, shouldn't she think to at least report the child is missing? Or the fact that she found a child at all? Or maybe she did know and she just didn't want to tell anyone. Maybe she did know what was going on, and this was her way of protecting her until she was old enough to figure all this stuff out by herself. And that could explain why she was so encouraging of Blair to go to Princess Charm's school in the first place. But that begs the question, why would she wait until the year of the coronation to tell her? Because it doesn't seem like she was going to tell her at all. And what about Gardenia? Who's been ruling Gardenia this whole time? Was it a regent? Was it Dame Devon? I don't know. They don't really mention what was going on before Delancey was crowned, but one can only assume. And then we tackle a pretty serious issue with eminent domain and urban renewal in Gardenia, since Dame Devon plans to bulldoze all the lower income areas and instead replace them with parks upon Delancey's coronation. Right off the bat, we can see that Delancey's heart isn't in it. My girl Blair is distressed because her family lives there too, and they don't have the money to move on demand. And when she points that out, Dame Devon just tells her to leave so she can go help them. But the problem is, in all the time Blair's been gone, who's been supporting her family? They didn't have time to make arrangements, and it looks like Blair is the sole breadwinner of the family, especially since her mom's really sick and her sister's too young. But maybe they had a trust or something. But we never talked about what happened to them in the time she was gone, so there's something else to think about. So Blair packs and gets ready to leave when Prince shows up and hands her a hand-drawn painting of the late royal family with her as a baby in it, and that makes Blair want to stay and fight against Delancey getting crowned. The solution to this is finding the magical crown of Gardenia that glows when placed on the true heir. And all of this has to happen before the coronation, that is tomorrow. A lot of things go by with Dame Devon framing Blair and the girls saying they stole jewelry, and then we see them get detained, and then we have a really great moment showing their friendship.
I'm so sorry. Now neither of you will become princesses. Don't sweat it.
Who needs a tiara anyway? They just make your head itch. And it's not easy to kick a ball in 4-inch heels.
Before Blair gets taken away, Delancey comes and asks Blair if she truly is Princess Sophia. And after hearing her confirmation, she gives her a map to the treasury to find the crown. And she says that she wants what's right. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is true queen behavior. How could someone be so selfless? If I grew up with everyone telling me that I was going to be ruler one day, I don't think I would have had a heart to give away the crown, even if it's for the greater good. So Delancey is a much better person than I will ever be. Then we have a whole sequence of the girls looking for the crown and eventually finding it, but then getting it snatched out of their hands, with them ending up locked in the treasury. And Delancey, on her part, stalls for as long as she could, and in the end, we have one of the best movies in Barbie film history, where Delancey chooses to crown Blair. I really loved Blair/Sophia's transformation into her ball gown. And I love that everyone else got to witness it, so like no one could dispute the fact that she is the true ruler of Gardenia. And then Dame Devon implicates herself on live television, accidentally giving away the fact that she murdered Queen Isabella. This isn't one of those Barbie movies where in the ending everything's just sunshine and rainbows. Dame Devon does truly pay for her actions, and there are consequences for them, which is also a pretty important lesson. But I do truly feel for Blair. Her crown gone, her mom gone, everything she's known till now gone, and she's all by herself. And even now, she still bows down to Blair and carries on with her life. And that takes true courage. And I loved that Blair chose Delancey as her Lady Royal because she definitely deserves it. Then we have our happy ending with Isla showing off her music and Blair meeting Nicholas again and heading off to dance. The whole dance number with everyone dancing together made me really nostalgic for some reason. Blair ends up reuniting with her mom and her sister. She didn't forget about them, which is also a very pleasant surprise. And then we finally end off the movie. And rewatching it is making me relive my second and third grade life where I used to be so carefree. And it makes me really sad when people ignore the Barbie movies in this time period, only looking at the OG movies from the beginning or the most recent ones, because this was the Barbie in my prime, which had a bit of everything. Cute moments, a lost princess, a new world, and the best female friendships. And to top it all off, it had the beautiful message and a solid plot. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to correct me if I got anything wrong, or if you guys have any thoughts of your own. I would love to hear them. And this is my first time doing anything like this, so please don't be too harsh, but see you later.